good morning to everyone. The topic that we have is very, very critical and important in today's context, right? The entire world today is facing the significant challenge of managing the plastic waste. And in a growing economy like India, we are seeing a significant spike in demand for both packaged food and beverages. And it is more imperative today than ever to develop an effective mechanism for managing plastic waste and ensuring plastic circularity in the country. We did make some progress over the years, starting with EPR. Today, all the brand owners are supposed to collect 100% of the plastic that we are putting in the market. Some of the brands are also doing buyback mechanism for collection of plastic. To the start for the usage of rPET for food grade, and some of the brand owners have actually introduced bottles with 100% rPET in the market. But we have a long way to go. And the way forward is, of course, fraught with challenges and perils. So to discuss further on this, I have got very, very distinguished panel members with me who represent some of the most reputed companies, not only in India, but across the world. And as individuals, they have a wisdom of knowledge and experiences which they can share with us. So Neeraj, I will start with you. Now Neeraj, you represent Coke, right? So it's one of the largest beverage players in the world. And I know that Coke has made significant progress as far as plastic circularity and rPET is concerned. So tell us your journey so far and what has been your success stories.
Thank you, Subroto, and thank you, Elite Plus, for inviting me in this panelist. For recycling, not now, it's been 4 decades, 40 years back we started talking about recyclability, which is now coming up in India. And we actually revisited our targets in 2018 where we said that by 2030, we will have 50% of our total packaging portfolio with 100% recyclable packaging and 50% recycled content. That's an ambitious target as a company we have. And India is a part of that commitment. So while this was done, let me tell you, India was not the first country in this region to have recycled PET. I mean, in this region, when I talk about the nearby neighboring countries, and the first country to implement rPET was Bangladesh. And it started with Coca-Cola, where there was a lot of interventions done with the government to bring in the right regulation in the region. In India, the BIS standard of IS 14543 was published in 2018. It actually prohibited the use of recycled content in any food grade material. And a lot of work has actually gone to work with the regulators, especially MOECF, FSSAI and BIS to bring in the right regulation in India. We were talking about plastic bags, which was not used in direct food contact, but we were not talking about food grade, which was done in all other countries except for the Asian countries way long back. And in 2021, with the right advocacy, MOECF actually came up with the PWM 2016 amendment, which talked about having a recycled content in the packaging. And in 2022, FSSAI approved it, but we're still waiting for the BIS approval. In 2023 March, BIS also approved with a lot of interventions with the regulators and interventions to bring in the right food safety standards in the policy. Coca-Cola actually took a lead in implementing it. March 2023, BIS regulation came. Within 8 weeks, we were in the market. So it didn't happen that we just thought and we'll go around it. In fact, we were ready with all technological solutions in India.
What are the immediate targets you're looking at for usage of rPET, right, in India? And lastly, because Pepsi being a multinational company, you have a lot of experience in other markets, right? So I think we'd like to also know that, do you think there's a possibility that the learnings that we can take from other markets and some of that can be implemented in India as well?
Thanks, Subroto, and humbled to be part of this esteemed panel today. I'll start by saying that, there was a realization in PepsiCo that no one company can achieve and create circular economy on its own. And I think that's where the journey starts, realizing that it's a journey of building a sustainable, circular, inclusive value chain, which will require collaboration across the ecosystem. And if I reflect back on PepsiCo's journey of brand circularity, I think it's a story of commitment, trust, and partnerships. When I talk about commitment, PepsiCo is guided by PepsiCo Positive Vision, which is an end-to-end transformation journey of inspiring positive change both for people and planet. Under the same, we have a vision in which packaging should never become a waste, which follows a three-pronged approach focused on reduction of plastic, recycling, and reinventing plastics. Focusing on recycle, it's not a simple solution which can just be achieved with focusing on whether it's incorporating of recycled content or just focusing on ensuring that the collection and recycling is enhanced in the ecosystem. So there are multiple levers, including recycling packaging for design, and there has been immense focus on all three of them to initiate our journey. So there was a commitment, there was a North Star for us. PepsiCo has been committed to achieve 50% recycled content in its packaging portfolio by 2030, and which had a milestone in 2025 as well of introducing 30% recycled content in our beverage portfolio. So there was a North Star which provided us confidence to march in that direction. But at the same time, it's important to look at trust in the ecosystem. If we look back at any of the successful technological innovation, trust has been a foundation stone for the journey. There has to be trust in science, there has to be trust in technology, there has to be trust in intent of stakeholders. And with PepsiCo being a company which is being loved by our consumers, we have to adhere to the trust which the consumers entrust upon us, which is delivering them recycled portfolio, but keeping in the food safety and the quality and the freshness and the taste of the products in place. So there was a trust in the ecosystem, and that's how we enabled the partnerships with our recyclers and enabled consumers by providing them better portfolio.
Thank you very much, and good morning and greetings to the entire audience here. Alco-Bev industry is slightly different from the rest of the FMCG. It never had so much of plastics, right? So as we were moving from, as Subroto mentioned, as we were moving from glass to PET bottles. In fact, Diageo only pioneered PET bottle for premium Alco-Bev, right, about 5 years back. And the journey of plastics in premium Alco-Bev started from there. Now, if you see, as we were moving from glass to PET, while we were improving our carbon footprint, because we were getting into lighter and lighter bottles, we were also increasing our plastic footprint. So it was a unique, situation to have. That one hand you were improving, on the other hand you were going down on another key metric. So what we started was, in fact, we started our journey of evaluating RPET well before FSSI gave us the first clearance, because it was helping us to create the right level of preparedness as and when the FSSI approval and subsequently the BIS approval came through. So, so the whole journey of creating this portfolio of glass to PET, and then from PET to RPET, and then from 10%, 15%, 30% to today we have launched 100% RPET based bottle. I think first one in India in the alcohol industry, which we have gone ahead and done it. Now, while we have done it, we have, this journey has not been very simple. It entailed very intensive trials, very intensive vendor development, because initially there were, in fact there are still very few FSSI approved vendors. Getting them onboarded, getting them trialed, doing all the sensory checks, doing all the migration checks, heavy metal checks, and all those typical packaging validations, followed by one of the main problems which we are facing, because a huge part of our portfolio, while we had colored PET bottles, which is unique, not too many FMCG companies would have colored PET bottles. Alcobave suddenly didn't have, but we also had colored PET bottle as well as transparent PET bottles. For transparent PET bottles, as we were increasing the RPET content to meet our KPIs of circularity, we were facing problems of color. This bottles used to look grayish, hence giving an impact on the premiumness of the bottle for the consumer. So we were continuously working with the partners, with the machine suppliers, to understand and eventually mitigate this whole ALAB and this color issue, to come out with bottles which are almost in the zone.
As the organization is taking, right, your organization to drive circularity, right? How you're working with the stakeholders to ensure that you're getting the plastic back from the market, right? That's question number one. Question number two is, we have a government mandate from next year to have 30% RPET, right? What do you think as an industry, are we ready to implement that from next year? Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Subroto. Thanks for Nidhi for calling me in the panel discussions, and it's very nice to be here with a big crowd. So Bisleri, 54 years company, sustainability has been a part from day one. And we consider each and every aspect in our industry is a part of the sustainability program. We at Bisleri use plastics which are 100% recyclable. The plastics which we use, 99% is PET, which is 100% recyclable, and 95% of the PET bottles are recycled in the country, so which is the highest in the global also. That is point number one. Point number two, also we have taken other steps to take initiatives with respect to the reduction of the plastics, the reuse and the recycle part also, as you mentioned. Okay. So we were working on the design of packaging, and we found that there need some technical interventions, there need some upgradations in our machineries. We had upgraded the machine, and also we have redesigned and re-engineered our packaging. This has helped us to reduce the virgin plastic to the extent of 8 to 10% last year. So that means the plastics which we are using higher previous year, now it has been reduced. Second is the concept of reuse, which the EPR obligation is also telling about. We were the first in the country in 90s to start the reuse concept for 20 liters jar. 40% of our business is 20 liter jar, wherein we give the jar to the consumer. After the water is consumed, we take it back, and it's been again filled and then been sent back to them. So by this process, we were able to save somewhere around 40,000 metric tons of plastic last year alone. So that's a reuse, power of reuse. On the recycled content, we have taken all the trials and every trials has been done successfully. We had got the permission from the Food Safety Standard Authority of India. Being a packaged drinking water and natural mineral water, we also need a permission from the Bureau of Indian Standard. There are some IS standards still to be, permission has to be granted from the Bureau of Indian Standard. So once we get the permissions, we will be immediately launching our recycled PET bottle for water also.
Bonus, right? So my question to you is something which is going to be very, very different. So one of the points which was raised yesterday by the recycle industry was they expect the brand owners to have fewer number of SKUs and use a single material, right? That will actually help to improve the collection mechanism and also generating more RPET, right? So what is the view on that from the brand owner's perspective?
Thanks, Subroto. First thing I want to say one thing. I have attended conferences globally, but this conference, which Elite Plus has put together, had the maximum attendance I have seen globally of people across the supply chain. So I want to thank Nidhi for that very much. Second thing I would like to say that everybody, mainly the consumers who are the king, they blame everything on brand owners for everything. As Subroto, you asked me question, what can brand owners do to cut down the amount of different plastics? Today, there are only 3 main plastics used for the packaging industry: high density, PET, and PP. And all of those are bringing different values, different performance required by different applications, by different end users and brand owners. For example, PET is required because it gives you the transparency just like glass. PP is required because you require hot filling, which high density or PET cannot give you. You can do the retorting with polypropylene. Therefore, I think the question should be how brand owners could help recycler. It's a very good question, and brand owners certainly can do some things. One thing which I would love to have all brand owners look into doing that is remove the master batch from the high density and polypropylene bottles, like it is mainly done in PET. By removing the master batch from the high density and polypropylene, the recycling and the quality of the high density and PCR will improve. You'll become more like a natural, Therefore, I would just say one thing, that people should stop blaming brand owners, and everybody in the supply chain should work together closely and address the plastic pollution issue in the market which we have.
Thanks, Dr. Surendra. I think we have a constraint of time, but I think